Quentin, what can you tell us about this? What has caused this decision?
Well, Mike Gallacher has stepped aside, as they say, following evidence, an email trail that indicates that he was aware of this company, this front company, 8x5, set up by his factional colleague and cabinet colleague, soon-to-be cabinet colleague, Chris Harcher, and the ICAC alleges that it was a laundry for donations, illegal donations under New South Wales law from property developers. We've had a ban on property developer donations since 2009. Remember, after the Wollongong corruption in the Labor Party, they changed the rules. There was a change of government in 2011, but in that movement to a change of government, the property developers wanted to start to send their money to the other side, and the Liberal Party resented the fact that the laws had changed and they couldn't do that. And the ICAC is looking at that, and Mike Gallacher has been implicated on this email trail and has stood aside.
What will be the impact, Quentin, on the New South Wales Liberal government? How damaging is this?
This whole thing, Julie, is very devastating to the Liberal Party's reputation in this state. The Labor Party's reputation was really destroyed with the voters right up through Wollongong, right through the Eddie Obeid inquiries, to the point where their primary vote had gone down to about 25%. So the this Liberal Party is now equally as tainted as the Labor Party in this state, and all this is folding out. I don't know whether they can contain it, because as we saw with the resignation of the Premier Barry O'Farrell, this now goes to his ministerial colleague, Mike Gallacher. Chris Harcher's already had to resign from the Cabinet because of these revelations.
Now, the new Premier, Mike Baird, is here in Canberra today for this Council of Australian Governments meeting. No doubt he's going to get questioned about this, but how do you think he'll handle it?
He will say, let the cards fall where they may, and if anybody's been found to have been doing wrong things under the New South Wales statutes, they will have to go. There's no finding against Mike Gallacher. He's entitled to the presumption of innocence. This is a corruption inquiry under inquisitorial proceedings, but there's a political resonance here because the allegation is that Mike Gallacher knew that the formation of this company, 8x5, was to fund money from the property developer Nathan Tinkler through into 8x5, and that was in breach of New South Wales Electoral Funding Act. So that's the allegation against him. The ICAC will have to determine whether, under its definitions, there has been corrupt conduct. If there has been, whether it's sufficient evidence to warrant a reference to the Office of Director of Public Prosecutions, so the rule of law then applies. As you know, the whole of Australia knows we're waiting for the New South Wales Office of DPP to determine if and when it will charge Eddie Obeid and Ian McDonald, the major players in the alleged criminal conspiracy over coal mining leases. So this is the next phase of this investigation.
Now, you mentioned there that this in the past had been very much linked to Labor and Eddie Obeid, and now we're seeing the impact in the Liberal side of politics as well. How do you think voters in New South Wales will be viewing this?
The voters of New South Wales will be switched off the Liberal Party and just as concerned. That's why when you see Mike Gallacher, all the Canberra Press Gallery journalists will be firing questions to him about how he's going to clean it up. He'll try to get on the front foot. I know the Department of Premier and Cabinet looking at the whole of government response to this, whether there ought to be full public funding of elections so that the politicians aren't compromised by having to be fundraisers in their own interests, and through that process, whether it's Labor or Liberal or any other body in the political trying for political campaigning, where you could compromise yourself by saying I've got to go to a vested interest to bankroll my campaign. That is conducive to corruption, you could say. That's where the council assisting of the ICAC said the debate ought to go. I don't know yet. We've got to work this out, the constitutionality of a full ban on political donations, not only in New South Wales but in other jurisdictions. The High Court believes that people donating to political parties is fair enough because it's part of freedom of communication. So we're trying to find out from constitutional experts how you could corruption-proof politics, because what's exposed is that corruption the way politics is played in Australia, corruption seems to be at the heart of politics through the slush funding of political parties.
Now, the position as Police Minister, a very senior position, who's likely then to step up?
I don't know yet, Julie. You want us to break news before it's happened. I don't know. Somebody will be announced. Mike Baird will announce that somebody's filling in for Mike Gallacher, and it'll be a temporary arrangement until we see where this goes. The important point for Gallagher's return would be whether he is found to have acted corruptly. They may interpose him next week as a witness, so we can answer questions on that, because it goes to his credit as a witness and a player, and they'll make a decision then on the political fallout of this. Arthur Sinodinos, everybody remembers, the former federal assistant treasurer, stood aside, as they call it. The ICAC has yet to determine his conduct. That's a big factor in Sinodinos's return to his political career, or where he wants to go. It all depends on the ICA. We're months away, Julie, from determining the exact conduct of these people.